I'm Frank Willis from GE Fanuc Intelligent Platforms. I handle the product developments for our mil-aero portion of our business. And basically what I'd like to do is really talk about the real challenge that this team as a whole, as an industry, had to confront themselves with. And that's the use of all of our products together from an interoperability perspective. I think most of us know that from a DoD perspective, there have been a number of mandating initiatives that have been put in place from an use of open standards that drive a more specific interoperability issue that we're all challenged with. So when you start looking at some of the things that VITA-46 brought to the industry, that was, as we view it, a very significant step in the right direction. But still, what now came out as a result of OpenVPX was the, I don't want to say conclusion, but yet the next step in that evolution in bringing that interoperability to fruition. The modules that you look at from a variety of different suppliers, the challenges there was to make them all play together. Even for companies as ourselves, bringing in the breadth of products across their portfolio and making them all play is even a challenge. So bringing them as a part of the industry and making them all play from a systems integrator perspective has really been a bigger challenge that most of us have had to deal with from that perspective across the market. So one of the things that we try to look at when the customers are trying to deal with this issue is looking at the particular platform challenge that they have to be faced with. Some of the first decision points that they have to be asking themselves, and I think Ian touched on it, when you look at the LSIs of the world that go out there and ask themselves these questions from an engineering perspective, size, weight, and power, architectures, fabrics, I/O requirements are all basic fundamental questions that they need to ask themselves. And as a result of that, they've got to basically go through the selection process of selecting form factors, switching topologies, and things like that, the number of slots to be utilized, and as well as then as the application development environment that each of these things have to play. And through that, they've got development chassis, they've got custom COTS boards, they've got customer transition modules to contend with, and then they've got to design the platform from a typical custom backplane perspective of how they're going to make all this stuff play. But the real challenge is looking at it from an integrated solution perspective and then tying it all back then to the actual platform requirements. So as results of that, and looking at the actual, what we consider the tangible benefits that customers can actually walk away with in feeling of what they're going to get from the use of an OpenVPX type architecture, is this thing with interoperability and vendor choice. They've got the breadth of the portfolios that are out there across the industries to select from, and that's going to give them greater choice from that aspect. It provides these design profiles that are identified that they can select from based on the system architectures that they've got to be working toward. We hope and we expect that it's going to help reduce the integration effort that each of these LSIs are going to have to be contending with. We have found that by some of the profiles that have been identified within the spec even today, that this is going to be a benefit to all the companies that are servicing from a systems perspective. We also anticipate that the volume of boards that we sell into any one particular opportunity should give us a leveraging effect across the industry as well. Bandwidth and density, those are all things that we expect to come from what was VITA-46 and even more so in OpenVPX. Technology upgrades, these are things that we're all interested in, as well as the migration of OpenVPX into greater platform use, and then the support of bandwidth, signaling speeds, and things like that. We believe that's going to be extremely important across the industry as well.
Now we're going to have the ceremonial pass of the spec from the chairman of OpenVPX to the chairman of VITA-65.
Photograph.
Oh, you got it upside down. Turn it.
Oh, let's try it again.
Start again.
Take two. Okay.
All right.
Hello everyone, my name is Mark Littlefield. I'm a product marketing manager at Curtiss-Wright Controls in Leesburg, Virginia. And I have to say that I personally and Curtiss-Wright as a company are really pleased to be up here today with my colleagues. There was a lot of work over the spring and the summer and the fall. But I think that what you're going to find when you look through the spec, you're going to find that it was all good work and it was all worth it. As I mentioned, I'm the chair of the Vita 65, basically the landing pad for the OpenVPX work. The goals right now are to take this work and work it through the Vita and ANSI approval process, and following the basic balloting and comment resolution structure that Vita follows and ANSI follows. But we also have another kind of more interesting goal, I think, in that this spec isn't going to be passed, completed, finalized, frozen, done, and then move on to other things. The VPX environment is still a relatively young environment. It's a young industry, and things are shifting. And so what we want to do is we want to maintain Vita 65 as a living spec. As market forces and as system integrators decide that they need to have things changed, that things work better doing one thing over another thing, we want to be able to work that into the spec to standardize on those changes and be able to best service our industry. One of the most important things, though, is that although it's a living document, what goes in there and what's approved is there forever. Builds going forward rather than going back and taking things out. And that's also to protect, industry investment and so on. What we want to do is we want to develop a product directory based on the OpenVPX profiles. One of the keys about the spec is that it has these profiles that a vendor can specify to say that they're compliant to, and an integrator can say in like an RFP or an RFQ, I want a board that does XYZ that uses this particular profile, and then they can use this product directory as some guidance about what is available in the market. We do have schedule going forward. As we talked about, the release of the document occurred. We are now in a 2-week polish period where we're taking some lingering comments and actually going out to the larger Vita community and gathering comments to basically apply a last round of polish to the document. We want to go to ballot about the end of the month, and it'll be a 2-week ballot period, of which will end at the next VSO face-to-face, which is the week of the 18th, and that will start the ballot comment resolution period. We expect that comment resolution period to take us to the January VSO, where we should be able to finalize and then go to ANSI. As I mentioned, we want to keep it a living document. The idea is to be able to not only protect existing infrastructures and architectures, but also adapt to new needs in the industry. But we want to do it in a very regularized way and basically provide a process for that sort of thing. In addition, people have good ideas, they get put down into the spec, and then maybe when they're applied, they're found to be not maybe such a good idea, or something about it isn't right, or the industry just doesn't take to it. We want a process of, in effect, retiring architectures, not taking them out of the spec, but in effect marking them as not recommended for future implementations. Again, to help guide the industry a little bit. We want to maintain the philosophy of an OpenVPX, of increasing VPX interoperability. We want to make sure that suppliers feel that they can still innovate within this framework. And there's also a lot of deployed systems out there already and contractual obligations, and we wanted to be able to make sure that those obligations would be protected. A couple of the basic ground rules is that any architecture can be proposed. They will all be taken on an equal basis. There won't be any kind of you're a preferred vendor, so your architectures are taken more seriously than somebody else's. In addition, there's no informative profiles. Everything is normative. Everything is actually part of the spec and not there just for information. I talked about this a little bit, the mechanism to be able to capture these new profiles as the market evolves. We want to be able to mark these profiles as inactive if they're really not being adopted by the community, and then establish a schedule for actually updating the specification and getting it through ANSI so that it gets the blessing of the approval process. couple of things that we're going to be looking forward in the next months and years is in alternate connectors. There's a couple of alternate connectors that are currently in their own VITA specifications, and we expect to be able to adapt to those when they become available. Also, there's a couple of key new interconnectivity specifications, VITA 66 and VITA 67, which we want to be able to address once they get through their own respective approval process. And with that, we're done. Thank you.